Welcome to Inspiration and Transformation from the Banks of the Ganga with Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati, an American sannyasi living at the Parmarth Niketan Ashram in Rishikesh, India. Sadhvi is president of the Divine Shakti Foundation, a charitable organization bringing education, vocational training, upliftment, and empowerment programs to women and children. Sadhvi is also Secretary General of the Global Interfaith Wash Alliance and Director of the world-famous International Yoga Festival. Join the musings of an American sannyasi as Sadhvi shares the wisdom and teachings of her guru, His Holiness Pujya Swami Chidanand Saraswatiji.
Welcome everyone to Inspiration and Transformation from the holy banks of the sacred Ganga River in the land of Rishikesh, India. The purpose of life and Maya and truth and who we are. This is not a truth for special beings. It's not a truth for the extraordinary beings. This is truth for everyone. In order for truth to be truth, when we speak about Satsang, for example, well, Sat means truth. Sang is that association, that togetherness. That truth, it's not about, as what I always say, that lowercase t truth in terms of this is the time of day or the day of week or a truth of right now. The truth that we speak of in Satsang is an eternal universal truth. And so when you ask in the question about what is it that enables that ordinary person to know the truth of themselves, of the soul, to break through Maya, well, all of the teachings are meant for the ordinary people. The scriptures are not written for a small handful of intellectuals or a small handful of deeply spiritual awake beings or a small handful of those who are, born almost enlightened. They're for the masses. And so every truth that is given, every teaching that is given for all. That which enables us to see the truth is looking in the right place. It's not some special pair of glasses we're gonna, manifest out of the ether. It's not some special formula. It's the same stuff that we're told over and over again. Meditate. Pray. Surrender. Serve. Have bhakti, devotion, love. Have gyan, wisdom, knowledge. Engage in karma, action, but surrender that action as an instrument of God. These are the tools for all. Focus on the third eye, on that divine eye. This is why we place our tilak there. It reminds us. I don't only have these two physical eyes that see shape and form and color, movement. That see with, rods and cones, that which is reflected on my retina. No. I have this third eye, this divine eye, this Agya Chakra that enables me to see the truth, to see the divinity. But I have to awaken it through meditation, through prayer, through practices that still the mind, purify the mind, The Atma, the soul, is already pure, always pure, ever pure. The mind is entrenched in illusion, in Maya. So these practices, they purify the mind, they clean the mind. You can think about it like cleaning a window. It's not that cleaning the window brings the sun. The sun was already there. But cleaning the window enables you to benefit from the sun. Sadhana cleans that window. It enables us to see the truth of who we are, to see Atma, soul. And when I say see, I don't mean see as in I have a visual imagery of it. There's a lot of ways of seeing that are not necessarily visual. So don't think, oh, I've only seen something when I literally can describe its shape and its form and its color. On a deeper level, we can see, as in we can know, we can experience. That's why we meditate. Meditation cleans that window and enables us to see. It enables us to get out of the clutches of Maya. And this third eye, this Agya Chakra, is literally the energy center of the power of discrimination, what we call Vivek. Now, it's not discrimination in the negative way, like these days when we say, don't have discrimination on the basis of, color or race or religion or sexual orientation or culture or language or finances. But it's the ability to have the real discrimination of truth from falsehood, of being able to see the divine in ourselves and in the world. So these are the practices. It's not that you need a personal invitation for the universe to say, hey, that which I've been saying for thousands of years, hey, it applies to you also. Guess what? But a lot of us kind of act like that. A lot of people think, well, that may be true for others, but it's not true for me. Everyone else may be divine, but I'm not. Everyone else may be pure and Atma, spirit, soul, divinity, but not me. Meditation, prayer, all of this works for other people, but not me. A lot of us feel like that. We feel like somehow the kind of reject from the manufacturing cycle. The kind that in a factory, everything else gets sent off to the shops and a few of the rejects get left behind. But God's manufacturing shop doesn't have any rejects. There's no one this doesn't apply to. But again, that's just the workings of Maya that says, oh, this isn't for me. Everyone else should do it, but not me. Doesn't apply to me. And this is where that purification of the mind is even more important. To be able to say, hey, that's just Maya. That's just illusion. That's just this power that's trying to get me stuck. So it doesn't matter how ordinary you think you are. I've never met an enlightened being, a master, who says, oh yeah, I'm really different than you are, that's why this works for me and it's never going to work for you, and the best you can hope for is, maybe a little bit of light, but you're really different than I am. I've never met a master who says that. Every one of them says something like, I'm just a very ordinary, very blessed being. Meaning, grace has been showered upon me, but I am very ordinary. It's just God's grace. It's just God's blessing, whatever has happened to me. I am just simple, just ordinary. Anyone who says I'm not, I would be actually a little wary of, because, as I said, all of those I've met have always said, I'm really ordinary. Now, of course, we look at them and we say, no, you are nothing but ordinary. You are the opposite of ordinary. But their own self-identification is, that's all God's grace. That's all blessings. I am very ordinary. I am just like all. And I share this with you because these teachings, these practices that they've all engaged in, the sadhana that they've done, that's what they credit the awakening with. Not, oh yeah, I came out of the womb enlightened because I'm so special and, God created me differently than God created you. No. The teachings are all for everyone. So no matter how ordinary you think you are, remember that the divine is within you. And that divine within you wants to be expressed and embodied and be able to expand and expand, to be known, to be seen. And the only thing that's preventing that divinity within you from being known and seen and expressed is how small you think you are in your own mind. And it's that smallness you think you are in your mind that keeps you from doing the practices, because you think, oh, well, I'm just ordinary. It's not going to work for me. So recognize that that divinity is within you. These practices are for you. And through these practices, ordinary beings, as we all are, have the exquisite blessing of an extraordinary experience of knowing the true extraordinary nature of the divinity within themselves. So it's all for you.
You're listening to OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Hi, this is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Every 2 minutes, another American is sexually assaulted. If you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted, you are not alone. Help is just a call or click away through the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Please call 1-800-656-HOPE, that's HOPE, or visit rain.org, that's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by RAIN and this station.
Welcome back to Inspiration and Transformation. I'm so glad to have you all back here with me.
Those aren't even two options. Suppressing doesn't work. Okay, imagine right now for the next 30 seconds, whatever you do, Everybody close your eyes. And for the next 30 seconds, whatever you do not think about elephants. Do not think about elephants. Whatever else you think about, no problem. But do not think about elephants. Okay, go. No elephants. Don't think about elephants. Anything else is okay, no elephants. Okay. Was anybody able to actually make it for 30 seconds without thinking about an elephant? Not a single second. Forget 30 seconds. Exactly. So suppression doesn't work. It doesn't work because not thinking about something actually fills your mind with it. You see this a lot in addicts. We quit smoking, we quit drinking, we quit using drugs, we go on a diet, we stop eating chocolate cake. And yet, the mind is still full of cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, and chocolate cake. Now, in all of those cases, we actually stop those things not just for the mind, but also for the body. So even if my mind is full of cigarettes, my lungs are healing. So it's okay. Even if my mind is full of chocolate cake, my blood sugar is not rising. So it's okay. But it's important to recognize that, because if I am not smoking cigarettes, not smoking cigarettes, not smoking cigarettes, my mind is full of cigarettes. I may not be smoking them, but I certainly haven't left them. I am not free of them. When we speak about renunciation, whether it's renunciation of sex, whether it's renunciation of attachments, regardless of how we think about it, it's not just a renunciation in our actions or in our bank accounts or in our shelves. It's also a renunciation in the mind. And so if you decide, okay, I'm going to live a simple life. I'm going to cut out all of the unnecessary things and live very simply. I'm going to renounce my attachment to things. But your mind is only focused. God, I wish I hadn't given up that TV set. Oh my God. Tonight that show would have been on. God, I wish I had my TV set. Or even, I'm so much better than that guy, I gave up my TV set. He's still got his TV set. He's so addicted to that TV. I am so much better than he is. My mind is still full of the TV set. I've renounced it, but my mind is still full. We may take vows of celibacy, vows of simplicity, but if the mind is full, you're still plagued. You're still plagued by them. And so this is where suppression never works. So circling back to the question, there aren't two ways of dealing with negative thoughts. Suppression is not an option, simply because it doesn't work. It just keeps coming up in a different way. The only way to deal with it, when thoughts come, and the question, of course, asked about negative thoughts, but I would expand it to all unwanted thoughts. Because it's not just negative. You know, we have thoughts about the past. We have thoughts about the future. We have thoughts of things that take us out of this present moment. We have thoughts of yearning, thoughts of aversion. And those aren't negative per se, but they're certainly unwanted on a spiritual path. The only way to deal with them, when they arise, you notice that it's arising. This is what a path of awareness is about. You notice that it's arising, but you do not hook your awareness into it. So for me, the easiest way to think about this is clouds in the sky. Imagine that you're lying on your back in the sand, and you're lying on a beach and you're watching the clouds on a sunny, beautiful day. A few wispy white clouds, and they keep going by. Now you've got two choices. Every time a cloud comes, you can hook your awareness into that cloud, and you can follow it all the way across the sky. And even when it's gone from the sky, you can still keep watching wistfully where it's gone. And it can still be in your mind. Or you can focus your attention on the blue sky between the clouds. And the clouds just go like this. And your awareness stays focused on the blue sky. And so when any unwanted thought comes, we're aware that it's there as it crosses into our awareness. But we don't hook our awareness into it. We don't follow it across the sky of our mind. We just bring our mind back to that clear space, to our mantra, to love, to the present moment, to wherever we are. And we start to be able to notice those sorts of thoughts when they're far away. We start to be able to notice tendencies. So we start to be able to notice, these sorts of situations create thoughts of jealousy in me. These situations create thoughts of yearning in me. These situations make me think about having more and more, even though I've taken vows of simplicity. These sorts of situations make me think about sex, even though I've taken vows, whether it's a vow of celibacy or whether it's just practicing the yamas and the niyamas, and I'm practicing the yam of brahmacharya, the integrity in my actions and my thoughts, whatever it may be. We start to be able to notice from a mile away these sorts of things create these sorts of thoughts. And so we don't engage in them. Whether it's certain TV shows, whether it's certain music, whether it's certain social media pages, whether it's certain situations. We may know going to these types of weddings makes me feel less than. I'm always jealous and aware of how much nicer everyone else's clothes than mine are, or everyone else's jewels than mine are. Well, as you're learning to work with your mind, maybe stop going to the weddings. It's not that you never can go again, but give yourself that time. You know, we do a lot of tree plantation here. Puja Swamiji is very committed to tree plantation. And when you first plant a sapling, we put this tree guard around it so the monkeys don't eat it. And in the same way, when we embark on our practices of watching our mind, of taking care of our thoughts, it's like a sapling. And sometimes you have to protect it. And so we may need to avoid certain situations, certain people, certain TV shows, certain music, certain social media sites for a while that we know trigger certain types of unwanted thoughts in us. And again, it doesn't mean that you never can go back on Facebook, or you never can go back to a wedding, or you never can, watch that sitcom again, whatever it may be, or watch the news. A lot of people have very unwanted thoughts arise from the news, lots of fear, lots of us versus them. Tragically, our news has become much more about sensationalism than actually about information. A lot of people I know have had to turn off the news because it creates such unwanted thoughts of anxiety, of fear, of contraction, of us versus them, of good guys and bad guys, that they know it's just bad for their mind. So we allow them, or it's not like we have control over it. We are aware that they arise when they arise, but we don't hook our awareness into them. We try to learn to see them coming from a mile away so that we can think about something else before they arise, so we can shift that focus. And we very consciously determine to avoid situations that we know will trigger those sorts of thoughts. That metaphoric tree guard around the sapling of our learning to work with our own mind, to keep our thoughts pure and aligned, balanced, in alignment with what we know to be true. And slowly, 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 you will find it makes a big difference.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth Radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Like Baldwin with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I grew up loving circuses and other traveling animal shows, but it never occurred to me what life might be like for the animals. Training wild animals to do things they don't understand takes force. Routine discipline with a hook or whip with the heel of a boot shows the animal exactly who's the boss. Don't patronize animal acts. Please contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati with inspiration and transformation.
Spiritual depression. Now this is actually the first time I've heard this term. I don't even know what spiritual depression would be. But let's look at it, because unfortunately, one of the challenges of satsang in the time of COVID is instead of questioners sitting together here with us, asking questions right here from their heart where I can turn around and say, sweetheart, what do you mean? The questions come in advance. You're sending them to us online in comments on social media or by email. So let's look at it. Spiritual depression. So depression is referred to in the psychological world a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but it's referred to in the psychological world as the piece of poop, let's say. That's not what they say, but we'll sanitize the language. Piece of poop at the center of the universe. Now, there's two pieces to that. A piece of poop and the center of the universe. Meaning, I feel horrible about myself, and it's all about me. This is why connection is so critical to treating depression. This is why service and giving is such a beautiful antidote to depression. Because depression is that in which we feel separate. Sometimes we feel separate, surrounded by hundreds of people. It's not necessarily physical aloneness, but we feel alone. Alone at this center of the universe, where I'm separate from myself. I'm separate from those around me. I'm separate from the divine creation. I'm separate from God. And this is where reconnection is so important. On a core spiritual level, reconnecting with the divine. But also, reconnecting with those around you, deeply. And if we don't have that, if we're surrounded by people but not able to connect, can you connect with an animal? Can you connect with a tree? Can you be of service in some way? I know in these days of COVID, it's a double whammy. We're not even able to be with people. Being of service to people is a very, very powerful antidote, or service to animals, or service to nature. Planting trees, working in an animal shelter, being with children in an orphanage, in a poor school, on the cancer ward of a hospital. Being helpful. Reading to blind people or elderly. It's something that enables us to connect, and it's also something that enables us to recognize the value of us here on earth. Another aspect of depression has to do a lot with how separate we feel from people, or the world and ourselves, and how separate we feel from anything that matters. A purpose in life, a meaning in life, any reason to get out of bed. And again, this is where being of service plays such an important role. There is someone who benefits by my getting out of bed today. There is someone whose life I am improving by getting out of bed today. Now, on a spiritual level, depression is that dis-ease, Sometimes it's severe enough that it's actually a diagnosable disease. Sometimes it's more of just a momentary, few hours, few days kind of blip. Because not all moments of sadness are depression. Depression is something that tends to linger, tends to be more pervasive. But this sense of dis-ease, where nothing matters, nothing you do matters. You're not connected to anything that matters. Doesn't matter to anybody if you get out of bed today. So spiritually, we have to, whether we are preventing depression or treating depression, align ourselves in connection to others. And as I said, connection to God ideally, but it's very difficult to begin there if you don't already have a spiritual practice and you're in the midst of suffering from depression. It's easier to connect with a human who needs your help, a stray dog who needs your help, something, someone who needs your help. But ideally where we're going, ultimately, is to a connection with God, a connection to the perfection of the universe. This experience of divine consciousness, of which we are part. This experience of divine light, divine perfection, divine oneness, nothing but God. But along the way, use whatever you need to connect. If it's another human being, if it's an animal, if it's a tree, if it's a sunset. But in that being, or in that experience of nature, try to see not just a love of that being, but try to really feel how connected you are. Feel them in you and you in them on an energetic level. Experience that connection and find something meaningful you can be engaged in. Something that brings benefit to the world. Something that helps others. Align yourself with something that matters. And get help. Because I know the question asked about spiritual depression, but there are times where we need some assistance other than just our spiritual practice. There are times when our meditative practice may not be strong enough. When our spiritual grounding may not be strong enough. Our spiritual anchoring may not be strong enough. Where we need some extra assistance from the world of psychology, the world of therapy, the world of medicine. Reach out, get help. There is help. Because depression tends to also feel very pervasive, like shame. That it's going to last forever. The sun will not rise again. And that it's over every area of my life. There is nothing in which I can find joy. Nothing that matters. And it never will matter, and there never will be joy. And sometimes we need a hand to pull us, just to pull us out of there. Get help. Do not feel that it's a sign of weakness. Do not feel that there's something wrong with you. Do not feel ashamed. Get help. There are times in all of our lives we need someone to help us get up. And sometimes that person is a therapist, is a doctor, is a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Do not feel badly to get that help. But along with that, get your spiritual practice so strong, your spiritual grounding so strong, that in the future, you're able to witness it. You're able to be present with waves of emotions and emotional states that ebb and flow in your life, and not to get carried out to sea by the waves of them. But for now, if you're suffering, and a lot of people are suffering these days, aside from the physical aspects, a lot of people are suffering. Emotionally, psychologically. Get help. We're so happy that the satsang, the meditation, is something that you turn to that helps you. And you may find that you need some additional help. And that's okay. That's okay too. Keep coming to satsang, keep coming to meditation. And if you need some additional help, get it. You're worth it. And this too shall pass.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Like Baldwin with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I grew up loving circuses and other traveling animal shows, but it never occurred to me what life might be like for the animals. Training wild animals to do things they don't understand takes force. Routine discipline with a hook or whip with the heel of a boot shows the animal exactly who's the boss. Don't patronize animal acts. Please contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati with inspiration and transformation.
So there's a lot of questions in there, actually. The moment of death, the law of karma, spiritually enlightened birth next time. But all of it comes under the umbrella of the karmic package. All of it comes under this law of karma. Now, the time of death, the way of death, all of that is determined by our full karmic package. Now, our full karmic package is both that which I bring into this life with me, as well as all of that I do in this life. So when we think about predetermination, a lot of people say, well, is my moment of death predetermined? Or is my next birth predetermined? Or is my bank account, my career, my marriage, are these things predetermined? And in an interesting way, it feels to me actually like a trick question. Because, yes, of course it's predetermined. And we are the ones determining it. When most people say predetermined, what they mean is that somehow, through something over which they have absolutely no control, through something over which they are just helpless victims, their bank account, their marriage, their entire life has been determined. No. The pre in predetermined is our own actions. We are the predetermining it. So you will die in the way that you live. A lot of people think, oh, well, just at that moment of death, because of course our culture tells us, our scriptures tell us that the thought that is in our mind at the moment of death, that's what determines our next birth. That's what determines what happens after death. And so you hear people say, oh, well, just right before I die, I'm going to start chanting God's name. But it doesn't work. That which you think about, that which is your nature, is what becomes your destiny. Do not think that you're going to live one way and you're going to die another way. So, how we die, when we die, what thought we are having while we die that then contributes to what happens after we die. All of that is being baked, it's being cooked, it's being figured out. And yeah, some of it comes from past lives. Some of it comes from the astrological sign in which we came in this birth. That, of course, was related to and dependent upon karma from past births. But do not think that the moments of this life are irrelevant. Everything that you do is contributing to making that decision. So if you want to make sure, for example, that your death is very spiritual, if you want to make sure that in your next birth you come in a very spiritual way, what that means is you need to live this life in a spiritual way. That then creates your sanskaras, it creates your mind. Without getting too subtle here, when we die, the physical body we know is over. It gets buried, it gets burned, it's finished. Even if you do nothing to it, eventually it's going to just dissolve. We know that the soul lives on. In the deepest way, the soul never took birth, never died, is indivisible from God. In another way, that's Atma, or Paramatma. Then we have Jivatma, our individual soul, which is that soul that is experiencing a karmic package as it takes physical body after physical body and birth after birth. Along with that Jivatma that goes from body to body, along with the Jivatma, goes what we refer to as the subtle body, which is Man, Buddhi, and Ahankar. Our mind, our intellect, and our ego. That stays with you. Do not think, my friends, that if your ego is killing you in this lifetime, that, well, just wait till you die and then you'll be free of it. it actually stays. The reason that for thousands and thousands and thousands of years our saints and our sages and our gurus and our scriptures have implored us to do sadhana, to meditate, to work with our egos, to be free of them, to purify the mind, to purify the intellect, is not just so that we can have a more pleasurable 80, 90 years on earth. It's not just about comfort along the way that, life is a lot more comfortable without an ego. It's actually because this is what goes with you. The work that you do, the sadhana that you do now, that stays with you. The way that you get trapped by your ego, the impurity of your intellect, stays with you. So if you don't want to purify your intellect in this life, no problem. The universe is very patient. It will wait. You can do it next life. If you don't want to become free of your ego in this life, the universe will wait. No problem. You can do it next life. But this death and birth are dependent upon that karmic package and that karmic journey, and where that karmic journey is, how much has unfolded during this particular physical incarnation. So commit to spirituality, do your meditation, do your japa, do your seva, live according to the tenets, right? It's so easy. We've been given these beautiful yam and niyam. Patanjali gave them to us for yoga. They're the same that we are given in our scriptures, right? It's so easy. How do you live? Non-violence, truthfulness. Don't harm, don't lie, don't steal, don't hoard, be pure, have integrity. This is the way to live. Spirituality doesn't mean how many books have you memorized. It's how you live. So commit yourself to it, knowing that that's the very best thing that you can do to ensure that both you're passing in this life and you're entering in the next life are as spiritual and as conducive to awakening as they possibly can be. That power's with you. Grab it.
This brings to a close this hour of inspiration and transformation. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad to be together with you all each week, and I look forward to being together again next Thursday, same time, on OMTimes Radio.